Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're heading back to Washington State to cover a Karen who refuses to leave her home after attempting to defraud a bank, an attempt that ultimately cost her both a house and her car. This video continues from my last one, so if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to check it out first. That video features a notorious Lane Nicola, who, along with her fellow Sards, failed to stop the foreclosure of a friend's home that at the end of that video. The new homeowner arrived to post a required notice, only to be met at the door by today's Karen, Carter Spinder. We've got 3 parts to cover today. First, a hearing I only recently discovered, where she has a car repossessed by the same credit union that financed a house, and the other 2 parts cover her eviction hearing and her thoughts on her spectacular loss. Let's dive in.
Do I have counsel for HAPO?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. Counsel, I'm prepared to go forward. Let me just make sure I got my notes in hand here real quick. If you just give me a second. Okay, I'm there. Thank you. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. First, I just want to clarify. I'm not sure what Mrs. Spinda is referring to in terms of a trust. This is a lawsuit that has been initiated against Mrs. Spinda. Mrs. Spinda purchased the 2018 Audi A6 on January 29th, 2019. She executed a retail installment sale contract, and that contract was assigned to Hoppo Community Credit Union. Hoppo provided the financing contemporaneously with the purchase of the vehicle.
Counsel, if you just want to move forward, I'm sorry to interrupt you, counsel. If you just want to move forward, I'm prepared to go forward today, and I'll indicate to you, as I will indicate to Ms. Spinda, that you each have 5 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hoppo has a perfected security interest in the vehicle. We're here today, and Hoppo's requesting that you grant the order that was presented, proposed order that awarding possession that was presented.
Thank you, Ms. Spinda. You may address the court.
Just a question. Have I unknowingly entered into any type of contract speaking with anyone here today?
No, you knowingly entered into multiple contracts with that credit union. In an attempt to defraud them, you took their money to buy things for yourself and then refused to repay it. They are simply reclaiming their property before you can take it permanently.
Ms. Spinda, I'm not here to answer questions. I'm here to hear arguments regarding your position on a show cause for a replevin of a vehicle. So you may proceed. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the first time I've done this.
Sure.
So is this considered a civil or a criminal case?
Again, I cannot answer any legal questions. You're responding to the show cause.
Okay, just for the record that you're not answering that question. Thank you. And who is the alleged victim here?
Again, I'm not here to answer questions. I'm here to your response to the show cause. You may proceed.
For the record, you did not answer my question. Thank you. I am a free woman of flesh and blood. My Honor, I ask for your status here today.
Once again, I'm not here to answer any questions. You may proceed.
For the record, you did not want to answer my question. Okay. My trust, when I say my trust, I'm talking about I trusted Hoppo with my trust, a promise that they would provide proof of consideration for the vehicle. I don't have just this issue going on with Hoppo. I have also an investigation going on with my home. And the FBI has been contacted, and there's been a claim that has started investigation on Hoppo for fraud. It's fraud against my estate, against my trust, against this birth certificate, Kathy Jean Spinda. And I have a truth affidavit of truth here that I would like, if someone could give this to the judge, that was served on June 12th I have an affidavit of truth and a proof of claim that I had properly served to Hoppo Community Credit Union and Chris Torres, who is the Vice President of Asset Recovery. And I have given her this proof of claim truth affidavit on June 14th in a meeting that we had for me to look over the wet signatures of my contract. So she has this in possession. This has been legally served to her. And I am not done this investigation, but there is fraud going on with my case.
Yeah, no. You're the one committing fraud. When you went to the credit union for that loan, you intentionally deceived them to obtain those goods. Misrepresenting your intentions or providing false information are both acts of deceit, and they are central elements of fraud.
And Samuel has proceeded to move forward on this lawsuit against this. And I tried to explain to him verbally on the phone the fraud, but all he said is, I don't believe you. He told me he didn't believe me. I tried to explain to him on the phone. He just said he didn't believe to me. He's protecting his pocket and he's protecting, of course, his client. But I have in my possession fraud from Hapo. And he has ordered, or he wants an order for the Benton County Sheriff to break and enter into my home to steal my car, where the proof of consideration is not, it's not legitimate. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. From a bank, at least I should get a bank certified copy, look at originals. But I have proof here. I have proof that Hapo is committing fraud. Now, it's to do with another case. It has to do with my house. The actual proof that I have is on my home. So I have not shared that with Samuel. I have, however, emailed it to Chris Torres, the Vice President of Asset Recovery. She received all of it with detailed notes on the fraud itself. I showed her the fraud itself. This is not a game. I'm not just trying to shirk my responsibilities. I come here with clean hands, and I'm telling you the truth. I don't want the Benton County Sheriff to break and enter into my home when where's the injured party? There is no injured party here for them to force themselves into my home.
But it's not really your car, is it? You may have still had it in your possession during this hearing, but legally, it belongs to the credit union. By holding on to it, you're denying them their property, so they have every right to ask the sheriff to come onto your property and take it back.
When there's fraud going on, and as I said, as serious as I am, I have also started a claim against Samuel Myler in federal court, and I have the case number for that as well, because he is trying to harm me and harm my family when there's fraud going on, and he won't back up. He's protecting his pocketbook. Now I'm looking at you in the eye and I'm telling you the truth. Okay, like I said, I have clean hands. I have the evidence. He asked me for it, and I told him to go ask Chris Torres. Chris Torres has all the evidence of the fraud. They know about it. They've got 21 days per maxim law to give me very specific information. And I think once you look at this, the questions I'm asking, you'll see how serious this is. So I'm motioning that this case be dismissed so that the investigation can continue on.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comment. Brief response.
Yes, Your Honor. With all due respect to Mrs. Finda, I only represent Potbo with regard to the vehicle and the debt associated with the vehicle. I don't represent Potbo with regard to her home and whatever is going on there. So I don't really have anything to say about that, and that's not at issue here today. Frankly, Your Honor, I think that there are a lot of things that Mrs. Finda has claimed or raised that I can rebut or dispute, but none of it is really relevant to why we're here, and none of it is really before the court. So I would just ask that the court consider the application for replevin and grant the order that has been presented.
Thank you. Court is here today on the motion for replevin. Replevin is a special statutory proceeding to determine title to or right to possession of personal property. The prima facie element of a replevin claims are as follows. 1, ownership of the property. 2, the right to its possession. 3, a demand on the defendant for the surrender. 4, defendant's refusal to surrender the property. And 5, defendant's consequence consequently wrongful detain of the property. The court did consider the arguments specifically by Ms. Spenda that was filed as a affidavit of truth that set forth her arguments with respect to the, I'm assuming it's an answer, with respect to the motion for replevin. Based on the evidence presented, arguments of the parties, and the affidavit of truth, the court will find that the plaintiff has proved by the preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not, that a replevin should be issued. Therefore, the court is awarding possession of the property of two. Please do not interrupt me. I'm going to find you in contempt, please.
We'd like to challenge jurisdiction, please.
2018. I'm going to sign the order, Miss Splenda. I'm going to find you in contempt if you interrupt me again, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm signing the order,
Challenge your jurisdiction.
and you may appeal my decision, but I've signed the order. I'm asking the bailiff to escort the defendant out before I find her in contempt, and I don't want to do that. That concludes the matter on this matter. Thank you so much. Please exit my courtroom.
All right, that wraps up the first hearing. If the rumors are true, Carter Spender is still making her way home on foot. Now we move on to the second part, her eviction hearing. In my last video, I mentioned that under Washington law, a new owner must wait 20 days after a foreclosure sale before filing for eviction in court. Well, those 20 days are up, and she still isn't leaving. So, this is that hearing.
I did have an opportunity to review all of the submissions in this matter, including Ms. Spenda's answer. So I will defer to you, Ms. Lindbergh. Thank you, Your Honor. And for the record, my client is present on the thank you, under the name Jared Fielding. This matter is on today for a show cause hearing. This property was subject to a trustee sale, with plaintiff purchasing the property and obtaining the deed on April 8th. And this property is located here in Benton County, so venue and jurisdiction are appropriate. The defendant was provided notice pursuant to RCW 61-24060, indicating the plaintiff was now the purchaser of said property, and that on the 20th day following the trustee sale, the plaintiff is entitled to possession. The defendant has failed to vacate the property. A unlawful detainer action was started by former counsel, and that was personally served upon the defendant on April 20th of 2024. Plaintiff has set this matter for a show cause hearing, and proper notice was provided to the defendant pursuant to the proof of service on record. The defendant has filed an answer to an unlawful detainer, as well as an answer to the show cause with a counterclaim attached to it. And RCW 5912 dictates that these are summary proceedings, and case law dictates that counterclaims cannot be considered. This court lacks subject matter jurisdiction to consider claims that are not related to the actual possession of this home.
Well, this is awkward. In almost every sovereign citizen court case I cover, they insist the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction. But the one time I cover a case where one of them actually files a counterclaim, the court truly does lack subject matter jurisdiction.
And so we would ask that not be considered today. The defendant has filed this counterclaim not in this matter, but as a new civil case. So moving forward today does not prejudice her from having those claims heard by a civil judicial officer outside of the summary proceedings today. So we will have those claims heard on a different docket. We are here today because my client has yet to gain possession of this property since purchasing it. He is losing money every single day that the defendant remains in the property. We have substantial attorney's fees here in the amount of $2,005.83. We have costs in the amount of $419.85. These damages were incurred prior to receiving a very lengthy response from the defendant, and the longer this matter goes, the more costs are incurred for my client. We're asking the court today to enter a writ of restitution with judgment, findings and judgment language, and also my client is reserving on any physical damage that may be caused in retaliation for this action to pursue that at a future date. All right, thank you. Mrs. Spenda.
Yes, I am Kat Spenda. This is my land that I have a lodial title on. The defendant, Jared, he had not rebutted my affidavit. I had sent him a notice of liability, And at this time, I choose to remain silent other than the challenging of the jurisdiction, which I requested. We cannot presume or assume jurisdiction. It must be proven in writing. And so therefore, I am asking for that today. Although I've been railroaded in this system, and there has been no justice in this system from the very beginning, and everything that I have put forward has been completely ignored. And so I just wanted to put all of that on there for the record. The counterclaim is to protect myself, my family, and my animals from harm because of trespass and fraud.
I didn't think you'd ever stop talking, Karen. If you really want to protect yourself, your family, and your pets from trespass and fraud, maybe you should start by not trespassing in that man's home and stop committing fraud. Now, do you want to test that right to remain silent again?
I choose at this point to remain silent, and except for the fact that jurisdiction needs to be proved. I am a living woman. I'm not a corporation that they are going after, and Oxeth Investments is a corporation. Only a corporation can go after a corporation, and I am a living woman. And so therefore the counterclaim is actually against Jared Fielding directly for harming me and my family and moving forward, even though he was provided all the proof and evidence beforehand, but he just ignored it. So I'm hoping today that I will not be ignored and that I motion that this case be dismissed without prejudice and allow my counterclaim to go through to prove the fraud so that we are not kicked out of our home, because there is fraud. And so I leave it to you.
Damn, Karen, twice as much silence the second time around. I guess it's finally time to hear the judge's decision.
Well, I do, as an initial matter, find that the court does have jurisdiction over this matter. It has to do with possession of property located in Benton County, Washington. I also find that as it currently sits legally, is the plaintiff that has legal right to possession of the property. So
I would like to get jurisdiction in writing. You cannot presume it. I must be able to get that in writing, and I provided all the case law to prove that.
You've made your record. Thank you. And you do have the ability to request appeal or revision of my decision.
Well, no car, no home, and clearly not enough brain cells to dig herself out of this mess. After the hearing, she decided to share her thoughts on why it's somehow not her fault that she's now homeless.
So now that you've seen this and you saw that she ignored everything, and let me tell you, I put in all of my proof, exhibits A through P, my counterclaim. The counterclaim shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if there's fraud going on. It shouldn't matter if they're stealing from the people, if there's crimes against humanity. Megan, you don't care. You know, sometimes I think I'm just too nice. I'm trying to be nice here, okay? I'm trying to talk to people on a level that they would understand. But, you know, these black robes, they don't work for us. And I bet you Megan doesn't even have an oath of office, just like Joseph Burrows doesn't have an oath of office. But we're going to do a request anyway. We're going to start really digging into these people who keep abetting in fraud. So we can add now Megan to the list of abetting in fraud. So that's the way I look at it. They all protect the banks and the corporations. Folks, this is an emergency. And so if you're wondering or thinking what's going on, what's going to happen to Kat and her family and her animals.
Nobody important is thinking that, Karen.
Well, the way it looks right now, they're just moving right along and they don't care whether there's fraud or not. In fact, they know. They know because I've already showed it to them. And she said she read through all of it. So she saw all of my proof. The proof that the banks provided nothing, that I was frauded. I provided all of it, just like I've showed all of you. But see, the truth doesn't matter in court. As we continue to march in the truth, this is what I want to share with you. The truth wins no matter what. This is going to come to a head because I'm exposing it. I don't know too many other people exposing it the way I am, as far as showing you everything that's going on along the way. So if you could share this video, get the message out, however you can, to tell people that all debt
is fraud, that the banks provide nothing. And yet we are all slaves. And you can see how all of the minions of the system start closing in because that's how they get paid. And they have no problem doing that. So anyways, I just wanted to just give you the short update. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I have been working very hard. And I've got some people I'm helping right now.
As someone who has served in the military, I think I can speak for service members past and present when I say we're going to take a hard pass on overthrowing the government just so you can steal his house, Karen.
But we need to stick together. And if we could make our voices heard in any way possible, if you could show your support, and we need to start making some noise. Otherwise, these people and their plan, it may be with me now, but it might be you later when you can't afford your life anymore. And that's where we are right now. But I've talked to so many people who, even people who paid off their homes and they can't afford the property taxes. So it just all gets stolen. Yeah, that's not okay. So the truth wins no matter what. Even though these liars in the system, these administrators or so-called judges, or I guess commissioners in the system who just adjudicate, you go in there and yeah, you're pretty screwed. Now we pretty much knew that was going to happen. And again, I have been walking this walk all the way through because this is happening to people every day, all across the country, between 3,300 counties with 1 million foreclosures a year. And it's only going to get worse, and they're going to make us more dependent. So I'm hoping that somebody out there is watching this.
We're watching you voluntarily throw your life away and reporting on it so others don't make the same mistakes. When you really think about it, you're basically serving as a crash test dummy, Karen. All right, that's the end of the video. If you haven't seen the first one, there's a link in the description. If you like this video, hit the like button. If not, hit dislike. But don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss my content.